whenever it is you arrive on this video, it makes it a beautiful moment. And I wanted to talk about some union secrets. And I think I'm going to make that a series, maybe just for fun. And what I'm thinking about is that a lot of folks really don't, like when you're trying to manifest union, the title is kind of like a trick question. It's not a trick question, but it's one of those like it's near impossible to just like stop thinking about your person and union. And I know that most of you can resonate with that. So how can I say stop trying to manifest union to get union? Well, a lot of people like they talk about just do your thing, just glow up, just this and that, but that actually doesn't just do it. Now, I mean, if you're able to flip a switch and just do that, by all means, but most people have, you can't get there from there, or well, you can't get here from there, right? You have to, sometimes there's some steps in the middle that people don't either understand or don't talk about. And in this one, it's actually quite simple. Stop trying to call in your twin to be with you. Stop trying, stop looking around, because first of all what you're doing is when your intention is for that, I want to be with them, I need to be with them, I want to talk with them, I want to be in a relationship with them, I want to be married with them, all the kind of nonsensical 3D stuff that we really don't need, and we don't put any actual like description on either. When we try to call that stuff in, we're trying to basically pull them out of their own vortex and their own journey to come and be with us. And two things about that. One, if you're still asking for that, you don't feel like you have it. You're in lack and desperation. So all you're going to do is pull them out of their vortex where they're probably already feeling the same things, lack and desperation. That's why you're in your separate corners. And when you pull them into you, the two of you are just going to get triggered off of each other's lack and desperation. And then the same thing too is like whether they're like trying to hold on to or to manifest, like let's say a union with a third party, or they're thinking about union with you, they're doing the same thing, and you're not going to get any change or any movement in the dynamic that way. Now, the nice thing is it's very simple to understand what to do next. The challenge is you got to do your shadow work so that you can do this, because it might seem like one of those easier said than done, which isn't true. It's actually just as easy to say it as it is to do it. Just how much of your shadow work have you done? Are you light enough that you can do it? And the trick, not the trick, the skill is stop asking for them to come into union with you, and ask and pray for them to come into union with themselves. And by that, I mean in harmony with themselves, both their 3D self to their 3D self, but their 3D self to their 5D self. That's what Spirit's been telling you to do with yourself this whole time. Stop trying to get into union with them and start getting into union with your 5D self. It works the same way with them. Like, and especially, here's the thing, when you start asking for and focusing on them being in harmony with themselves in 3D and in 5D and in harmony with those two spaces, you're asking for yourself to be in harmony with those things. So then once you ask for it, you start looking for where you have disharmony with yourself. And once you start walking the talk, you'll start seeing them walking the talk. And you'll stop feeling that desperation also, so that even if you don't see them walking the talk, it doesn't pull you out of your walk. And once you start to get really good at that, then you'll start noticing that this has actually already been working for you in the past. This is why your twin flame comes in and it seems like they're ready and they're sweet and they're doing this, and then they seem to ghost or run away or breadcrumb. It's actually not running away, it's not ghosting, it's not breadcrumbing. They are only coming towards you when they are in alignment with you in good ways, unless you are pulling them to you when you're in lack and desperation, or sometimes vice versa, but usually like you have to be calling them in that space for Spirit to allow it to happen. So the rest of the times you've actually got evidence. Every time you've had a good experience with them, you may have been afraid that they would hurt you. It may have gone into a crappy experience because they were saying what you wanted, but you're like, they haven't apologized. They haven't changed anything. They're still hanging out with the same people. So you, I'm coming for you. You sabotaged it. I'm not saying you did it alone, because clearly they could have done the adult things. They could get on the computer and research and do that stuff. But here's the thing: if they've not yet ever been the type of person to do that, and you are mad at them for not doing that right now and not being any more intuitive than they've ever been, then you got to rethink about what you want. And if this is a person that you really like, if you really feel like it's your twin flame, and not only can you not let it go, but you don't want to, then you got to get into a place of being able to accept them wholeheartedly and unconditionally for who they are without being in a place where you get drug into what they're doing. You can stand in what they're doing. You can let them do what they're doing. Say they're hanging out with people that you don't like, that don't like you. Why are you bothered by that? Why are you, let me say, why are you still bothered by that? It's okay, it's understandable in the beginning to be triggered by that. But why are you still bothered by that? Like, does their opinion of you change who you feel you are? If it doesn't, then it shouldn't make a difference whether they're right in front of you or another country away. You know who you are, and that's all that matters, you know? And then the same thing too, like look around with people that you got around you. You're probably doing that same stuff with them. Like, are you armoring yourself? Are you pushing people away because they might hurt you? Well, guess what twins are doing? Guess what DM or DF has been doing? Pushing away anybody who might hurt them, anyone who has hurt them, even just a perceived hurt, because a lot of the stuff that you're doing is also perception, right? It's about that. And if you, and I know there's going to be plenty of people who do feel triggered about this, and that's okay. Your triggers are where your shadow work are, and the more you work on that, the more that you ask yourself those hard questions, the more that you have somebody to be like, wait a minute, why are you bothered by that? Because you need to get into your own mind about that. Why am I bothered by this? And go beyond the 3D stuff of, well, they said something mean about you, so that's more about their journey than it is about you. And if you recognize them being that way with you, is one, they don't know you that well, and two, knowing you and going through that, if they're still triggered by it, that's for them to heal. It's not for you to take personally or be mad about. Same thing with, like, if you're worried about, I can't possibly enjoy this 5 minutes or these 5 days of good time with my DM or my DF because I don't like the people they're with, or I don't like their family, or they don't like what I want to do, or they're not doing this thing and it's making me unhappy. That's exactly why you don't have harmony with them yet, because you are in disharmony with yourself, which is why you got to stop asking for union, i.e., harmony with them at this point. For one thing, Spirit's shown you a bunch of times that you can have it if you can let go of your triggers. If you can, not just pretend that you're okay with it, not just be the cool girl or cool guy, really be like look at old you who used to be really triggered by it and be like, wow, it's adorable that I really gave that much of a crap what other people thought, or that I would really let, like, the love of my life go and would hold them back for so long because I didn't like who they were hanging out with, or I didn't like the job they worked, or I didn't thought they made enough money, or is mad because they're not good at apologies, or that they're not the intuitive type to get online and look up how to do better in relationships, or all these things. Like, look at what you say that you want, and then look at the results that you're getting. If you're not in harmony with yourself, you're going to be looking for external sources, like your twin, to please you, or to be the source of, like, to be your excuse for not being in good alignment with yourself, for not being in harmony with yourself. And then you're going to be constantly looking at how they're not making your life easier, or they're not pleasing you, or they're not doing things the way that you would want them to do, and you're going to feel unhappy a lot. Like, I mean, you could do it if you feel justified doing it, but does it make you feel better? I pretty much guarantee it probably doesn't, and that's what they're doing too. So the minute that you stop doing that is the minute that things start to move. And the minute that you really start to heal that stuff, like, somebody thinks that I'm controlling. Okay, so where's that coming from? Maybe I am actually being controlling. But there's one thing I know. I am controlling because I'm controlling of who I am, of how I feel. I do control the narrative in terms of what I think in my head, what I feel in my heart, who I talk to, what I say. And those are good forms of control because everything has shadow and light. So being called controlling is not always a bad thing. Secondarily, people typically only get called controlling by those who are not accustomed to what healthy boundaries look like, or they're dealing with somebody who is actually very controlling in a negative way. And you really got to take a hard look at yourself, especially because your twin, whether they're right or wrong, or I should say, let me say this, whether they're like they've done more wrong or they started it or they're being very immature, that doesn't disregard their feedback to you. And if they're calling you controlling, even if it's just to get out of accountability or to not respect a boundary or to be bratty because you're not doing exactly what they want when they want it and stuff, it's still your feedback. It's still your message. Are you really going to toss out the opportunity to feel better about who you are and to work on your light work and to get union closer simply because they said it when they weren't walking the talk? Because you're missing a lot of opportunities and you're creating more delays on your path when you do that. Whereas if instead you're going, you know what? Okay, I'm not super happy about the instance of like being called controlling, and I can see that. And I can see that I feel that from school, or I can see that because I don't like it because my parents were controlling. And so for me to feel like I am controlling in a bad way triggers me. And I'm going to go back and look at that. I'm going to learn about the shadow and the light side of being controlling. I'm going to own what's mine to own. If I've been controlling, like even if you've just been like maybe being controlling to another person could be for you simply saying, I'm upholding boundaries, but those boundaries might be too firm. They might be too strong. Healthy boundaries are not rigid, they're flexible. And you don't just let anybody in and out with it. And some people you hold a little bit firmer one with, but typically if you want to have a relationship with them, you want to have harmony with them, that includes you growing too. You can't just ask for you get what you give, like, so if you're being rigid, they're going to be rigid. If you're being afraid, if you're afraid, they're afraid. That literally works like that. And so when you're asking for something external to happen, you're asking for 3D union to happen. First of all, it shows that you're not in alignment with your 5D self consistently enough to have it. Secondarily, they're going to reflect you. And they're going to be looking for externals. For you, it may be trying to call them to you, whereas for them, it might be trying to call money to them. And even if they have a third party, usually it's going to be them calling in something else external, and it's just masked by third party stuff, but that's not really what it is. And it's the same thing with you. Like, if you're trying to call in union with anyone, whether you're twin or not, it's not even actually about them. It's about you. Why don't you feel comfortable being you in the world, being independent, being, if you want to say single, like, why are you uncomfortable with that? Is it because you worry that you'll get older and people be like, "Why aren't you married yet? Why don't you have kids? Why don't you do this and that?" Is it because you fear that you might go a few years and not have sex? Is it because you're worried that like people will think you're weird? What is it? What is the thing that makes you uncomfortable when you have this picture of your mind of you just being with you? Because that's what's stopping your twin flame too. So when you start to think about, you know what, I'm not going to call in 3D union relationships and stuff right now because one, I can see I'm not quite ready yet. And then I can start working on my inner vocabulary to feel ready. And I can start looking at and saying, okay, like, I know that in order for them to come into alignment with their 5D selves, to have harmony with who they are, all of who they are, I need to then do that too. And by asking for it for them, I am asking for it for me because we are connected in that way. So what I ask for them, I get for myself. What I ask for myself, I get for them. So then it's going to be stronger and it's going to be better when I ask for harmony with myself for myself. Because if you're asking for harmony for yourself so that they will come to you and be in a relationship, or you're asking for them to be in harmony with themselves so that they will come to you and be in a relationship, you're doing the very thing that you're criticizing them for doing, still being in externals. So then you can go, okay, see that? Problem worked out. Now I'm going to look at, why do I want to be in harmony with my 5D self just for me? And you can use your twin for that if you want. You can look at, like, what reasons do you think that they could find to want to be in harmony with themselves, with their 5D self, with their spiritual self, all of the mind, body, the emotions, spirit, ancestors, all that. Like, why would they choose to do it for themselves? Right? Because sometimes it is easier to look at an external to get to the internal, but how are you using it? You know what I mean? So if you turn it around and you say, okay, well, I could see, okay, I'll just use my DM as an example in this one. I could see him wanting to come into union between his 5D self and his 3D self, because then he would feel more in control of himself. And he has had a very big fear of not being in control of himself and being controlled by other people. And so, like, when I think about what do I know of what harmony is, either with another or with the self, but especially with the self, like, it would mean that he wouldn't feel like a jerk when he's holding boundaries. He wouldn't take it personally when someone else has a negative reaction to his boundaries, because he would recognize that that's something internal with them, and he wouldn't hate them, and he wouldn't, like, feel codependent with them. He would feel strongly in alignment with himself and comfortable with whatever the most natural feeling is that comes up first, because he's been an overthinker for a long time. So that first feeling that comes up is usually completely correct, but then he overthinks it, right? So I know that he would love to be in union with himself, because he would feel that stability that he often tries to get from other people that give off a good image of being very stable and then become unstable when they come into union with his unstable vibration, right? So I know that he would really love that inner peace, to be able to say, I did it myself, I do it myself, I don't need anybody, so I can interact with people based on just, I want to do it, it feels good, or it feels growing, or, it feels things like that. And then I can take that and look at my own stuff and go, okay, well, I like the same things. I've become very, very emotionally stable for that reason, because that has been my reason. I want to feel comfortable no matter what the heck he's doing. I want to feel good. I want to feel great about who I am, and no matter what anybody's doing, because then I feel delightful all the time. Like, I don't have to avoid people because they might say something uncomfortable, or they might try to bring me into something codependently, or they might try to bully me. Like, I just want to know that no matter what happens, that, like, I know myself so well, that I can sense what anybody else is doing. I can say yes, I can say no, I can say maybe, I can pause and think about it and pray about it. I can be radically different. I can do whatever it is that I feel in the moment. I can even have a human shadowy moment and have a negative reaction and know that I'm not going to beat up on myself about it for almost any time at all. And I love that, because I used to be the kind of person, it took a long time to get me out of anything other than kind of a, I'm going to say, a faux bliss state, and get me mad or get me sad, but then I stayed there forever. It's what it felt like. And now, like, I mean, I've been thinking about this over the past few months. Like, look how easily I'm able to move through things. I can speak my truth, whether it's a happy, sad, blissful, grateful, spiritual, whatever. And I don't fear that I'm gonna, like, be thrown into a chaos of a depression, or an angry rage, or whatever sort of thing that I was fearing before. And because I know that I'm not going to be very unstable, I'm also aware that other people around me, most of whom are not quite as conscious or metacognitive of what they do as I am, that I'm going to have the highest vibration in the room, and that will dictate how things flow. So I don't even have to control it. I don't have to manage people. I don't have to worry about when somebody's upset about something not going the way that they want it to. And I can participate in it or not participate in it. And I like that feeling. Like, I can feel good no matter what's going on. I can feel bad if I want. I can sit in my car and cry all the time if I want. I can be in front of people. I can do whatever it is I want to do in there. That feels great, you know? And that tells me, like, once all of the fears of that stuff is out of the way, then that shows me what's real, because then I can see my intuition without all the ego fears layered on top of it, and enmeshed in such a way that it's like shepherd's pie, like you can't see the difference between any of the ingredients in it at that point. Instead, it's like, okay, it's like a main course. I could see the carrots, the peas, the potatoes, the turkey, the cranberry sauce, whatever. I could see all the different ingredients and go, yeah, I'm going to have a little bit of that, and I'd like a little bit of this, and I'm not going to have some of that right now because I just don't feel like it. Who cares that somebody, or not who cares, but it's okay that I know that somebody made sweet potato, or what is it, that marshmallows and yams thing. I've never been fond of that. And in the past, I've eaten it because I didn't want to hurt people's feelings. Whereas, like now, I'd rather be like, you know what? I know that you worked so hard on that, and I am absolutely loving partaking in the energy of that. However, I'm not gonna eat it because I don't like it. Like no apologies in there, no nothing. Just that's me. That's how I am. And if they get upset because that was the thing that they brought and they really wanted everybody to have a part of it because they have a trauma and shadow work that has to do with feeling like they're not good enough unless everybody likes everything that they do, I don't have to hurt myself on that. I can just go, oh, look at them and their adorable humanness. I'm so glad that I get to be somebody that they can learn and see that people still love them and accept them, even if they don't want to eat the food, which has nothing to do with their cooking. Just a personal preference, right? And I know that that's it seems like a small thing, but you can take that and apply that to almost anything else that you want. Now, here's the other thing, if you stayed on this long in the video, is that when you get into manifesting union between your 3D self and your 5D self, that starts to get them into doing that. And you're doing it for your own reasons, so they're doing it for their own reasons. And here's the thing, twin flames will always align with each other when they're in alignment with themselves, especially consistently. So when you think about it, you've already got the evidence. You've already got all the times they've reached out when they felt good. They reached out when they wanted to start over. They've reached out and tried to say something. And yeah, they may not have addressed all the past stuff, but whatever. You've got evidence that when they are in a good space and their heart feels lighter, they reach out to you, right? And usually you were probably in a good space and you just probably crumbled in energy. You spun out because you were afraid of the past. So you weren't in a place where you could just put down the past because you hadn't done that shadow work and say, oh, yeah, look at this. I don't need none of those apologies. This is wonderful. Yeah, let's start over. And you know what? Yeah, they probably are going to do some of that same immature stuff that they did before, but it's not going to go the way that it went before because I'm not going to respond to it in the way I did before. I'm neither going to be some fawning fangirl who just takes everything, nor am I going to be the rigid person that says, nope, unless you change all of these 10 things, this, and this, I'm not talking. Till you do this, and this, you apologize, I'm not talking. I'm not going to give you my attention. I'm not when you're not in either of those places and you're just like, you know what, there might be some moments I will say, you know what, I don't want to talk to you right now. I don't like playing with you when you play like this, And there might be some other times when you're like, all right, I don't care that they want to do that thing that they've always done. That's like, it does annoy me. It's immature. It wastes time. But I'm going to let the boundary be flexible because it's really not that big a deal. And I know there's some time in the future when I'm going to have a prideful moment myself and I'm going to really appreciate that they follow my example and don't really make a big deal out of every single thing that I do that isn't like in perfect harmony with the paragons of society that always do everything right, the impossible standard that we want them to meet or that we think that people want us to meet. Like, no, you're going to be in the middle. Life is going to move. There's going to be some moments that are fun and some moments that aren't quite as fun. You're going to learn from all of them. And the more that you get in alignment with yourself and you feel good about who you are no matter what's going on around you, they start to do that too. And then guess who they think about? Who their example of that is? You. And guess what? Whenever you get in there and you realize, yippee, I'm in alignment with myself and I feel good. I'm going to talk to them and whoever and whenever. Or last time I talked to them, they were trying to fight with me, but it was adorable. Like, really? You're trying to fight with me? Don't you see all these ancestors around me? The Maverick says, like, don't you see this room full of ancestors? Don't you see the line down there? Like, don't you see this line of people that they want to have some of my time, and you really want it? You want to argue with me? Like, okay. I mean, if an argument's that worth it to you, all right. And when you get into that energy about what's going on around you, then they start to go up there too, because they're like, I want some of that. Because guess what? They can go anywhere, and honey, they've been staying away from you because they can get the same stuff from third parties that they're getting from you if you're either in fawning fangirl state, like love bombing kind of state, even if all you're doing is just allowing them to do all the things that you don't like, or in that rigid, like, I have boundaries, the two of swords, like, I'm no, you don't talk to me. There's no way you can win because you'd have to prove to me that over the last year of times that you fucked everything up, that you're going to change it, and that you're going to address every little thing, and you're going to remember every little detail so that you can promise me that you're never going to hurt me again. Like, they get that from their third parties. And spirit knows that's not the type of relationship they're supposed to have with you. It will keep you separate in your separate corners of the ring. Ding, ding. It'll keep you in your separate corners until that fighting never happens again. Or not never happens, rarely happens. Because spirit wants you in your prime shape and wants them in their prime shape, because you can't go out and help the rest of the world if you're constantly stuck in drama triangles and things like that. And that if you're too afraid of other people's drama, like, it's not that drama necessarily stops happening around you, it's that it stops happening within you. And when it stops happening within you, it actually stops happening around you too, because your natural energy, when if you're around people that are like third parties that your twin flame is involved with, and like, you may be fully aware they don't like you, they may have been trying to block you, they may have been saying stuff, or they may think that you're trying to do things, whatever, stuff like that. Like, if you're in a state where you're triggered and you're thinking about them doing that stuff, you're keeping them in the story, for one thing. But the irony is they're keeping you in the story too, but that just escalates things. Whereas if you can be in an energy where you're like, aren't these people adorable that they really think that the passing of time is really anything significant to this? Like, and then even to recognize that, you know what, if it feels like it's that meaningful to them, then there's probably some powerful healing stuff going on in the state where my twin flame is going through their dark nights and their awakenings, and spirit probably knows that that's incredibly important. And I have way more faith in spirit than anything else, so I know that I don't need to know what all the details are of that. What I do know is that, isn't it adorable that anybody should be worried about me who is manifesting union with myself, me who is expressing my human emotions and not doing anything, not doing anything else to, like, I don't even know what you say, because sometimes people think when you're expressing your emotions that you want something, and we can unintentionally get into using that as manipulation. So you do want to look at that and be careful with that. However, people who aren't comfortable with expressing their emotions just to express them will often feel like somebody expressing emotions to them is trying to get something out of them. And likewise, they won't express emotions unless they feel like they're trying to get something, or they won't do it because they're afraid that you'll feel like they're trying to get something out of it, like it's a trick, right? But either way, like, if somebody's keeping secrets from you, whether it's your twin or somebody else, be like, isn't that delightful? They're not aware that my guides whisper in my ear all the time, that spirit shows me syncs all the time and shows me how to connect them with things that I already know. Isn't that delightful? I wonder how long this game will go on. Like, and then it doesn't matter, and then, like rumors, gossip, like, really? People are gossiping about me? That's delightful. That must mean that I'm doing something that's catching attention. And while I don't need attention, isn't that just even more delightful about it? That I have no need for it, so I don't need to ask for it, and I'm also not triggered by it, so it can just be there. It's like people watching at the mall, and it's like, okay, I mean, I don't know what point that it's serving you at this point if I'm not playing in the games of the rumors and the gossip, but okay. Like, that's interesting. Let's just observe that. I wonder if that's part of the healing that this person or these people are going through, is learning to heal that. I wonder what it is about my reflection that is reflecting some part of them that they're not very happy with. Isn't that interesting? Look at how spirit is helping me be a healing tool, either as the mirror or the candle to these people that my twin flame is interacting with. Isn't that really cool? Spirit isn't wasting any energy or any spaces, especially if I feel like I'm not doing anything worthy of gossip or worthy of bending the truth or changing the truth or lying or hiding things from and or stuff like that. And then like even on the other end, like isn't it you almost want to get to a place of absurdity, like, oh, these silly mortals of the flesh, like that kind of thing, which is a joke I used to have with a friend. Like these people really think like a few months is going to make a difference, a few years, a few decades even. They really think that that's going to make the difference. And they think that's going to slow me down. They think that's going to change me being on my path of abundance and gratitude and joy and fun. Really? They think that getting statuses, getting vows, getting contracts, getting these material 3D things is going to make any difference. It's not adorable. I wonder how long. Like, how many licks does it take to get to the center of of a Tootsie Roll Pop? Like, kind of, when you can get into that energy about it, then you can move through the world in whatever way that you want to. You're no longer holding in place the things that everybody else is. And when you're no longer reflecting what people are doing to you because you're not triggered by it, then that's when all of the energy starts to move. And guess, even if you've never met your twin, or even if you've not interacted with them in a while, or all the former interactions were really crazy, any of that stuff, like they're going to feel that if you do know them, they're most definitely lurking or spying in some sort of way. And if they're not doing that, they're feeling it. They're feeling the change in that. And guess how attractive that is? Because they can go anywhere in the world and find themselves a lady or a man who can get upset at them about the things they're not doing right, that don't please them, which is, by the way, controlling. That's why that card that you see so much in other readers, like release control. Release control. It's for you, first of all. And second of all, look how attractive that is. Like when you have someone that can easily say, you know what? I'm not interested in being another one of your other women or other men. Though that doesn't mean that I'm uninterested in the future with you. I am delighted in everything that you do. And I want you to enjoy the journey that you have in whatever way that your delightful little heart feels like it wants to go. And your delightful ego, too. Because I embrace all of you. And I am comfortable with moving through the world and neither waiting nor pushing you away nor having to pull you in. Like, think about that energy. Where can you go in the world to find that energy? Be that energy. You'll see it everywhere. You'll actually see a lot more people are in that energy. And here's the thing, when you're in that energy consistently for you and not for relationship of any kind, not for the 3D stuff, you're in it for you. That's when everything starts to line up and you start to move through any community, any tribe, anything. And you can just be you. And you can know that whether people feel complimented by your energy or feel triggered by your energy, that you are doing good. You were doing light work. You don't have to, like, light work isn't going in and being like, bam, you're healed. At least, I mean, you don't have to do it that way. Light work is very simply being who you are, being authentic, whether you're, and that's in any way, I want to say in any emotion, angry, sad, any of that, but it does include going through the shadow work, because I'm not talking about you feel triggered because one of your parents abandoned you, and so you feel triggered by any time that somebody's abandoning you, and so then you go into the depression anger cycle, and then you're mad and you're sad and you're going through that and you're in desperation energy and you're in lack. Like, I'm not saying don't have those experiences. You're meant to have them if you're going through them. They're there for healing. What I am saying though is that it's very different to experience a person who can be like, oh, you know what? I just heard that you did something that's really gross to me. Or it makes my heart feel very squishy. It feels like you're, well, see, I can't even do it. In my mind, it's like, isn't it adorable that you think that I'm going to believe that you getting like 3D statuses or saying things like that changes what I feel that you feel for me? That it changes any of the stuff that I see that's going on in there? Like, do you think that you deceiving yourself is really going to deceive me? Like, if it is, I mean, I'm not going to pop your bubble. You'll get it, and there'll be a point in time when you'll come around and be like, "Wow, she saw that the whole time. Isn't that incredible?" See, that's what I mean. Like, I can't even go to the old places anymore where it's like it's such a tale of woe, you know? That's a different energy. And so, I mean, even if you don't quite get into all of the spiritual stuff, take out the spiritual stuff. You don't want the 5D, 3D alignment, just get emotionally secure, where you feel comfortable no matter who you are, or no, right, no matter who you are, no matter where you are, no matter what people think of you. And you're going, like, your self respect will make you super attractive. And to your twin, that's going to be super magnetic because that's something that you don't see every day. That's something you don't feel all the time. That's something that, people, everybody will do it on occasion, but most people are not very trustworthy of staying in that vibration outside of the honeymoon period of a relationship. That makes a difference. I'm going to leave this here.